So again, thanks for having me. I am going to really focus on Japanese beetle, a couple other things here in Washington, but Yolanda, who went earlier, is a great resource, and we do tend to work on the same things. I am an outreach specialist at the Washington State Department of Agriculture, and there's a group of us who work to regulate, advocate, and provide services for our agricultural industry. So when you think about growing, feeding, and all the different components, you have to think about pests, which brings us to where I work within the pest program. Inside the program, you will find entomologists with a lifetime of field collection and identification in and out of the field, molecular biologists swabbing plant samples, people doing outreach, backbreaking labor, scientists doing innovative research, and a lot of focus on eradication or complete removal of that pest. And that's typically when you will hear about us in the news, when you'll work with us or become aware of the programs. So I like to start off on a high note and show you a 51-year strong running program in the terms of eradication and prevention, spongy moth. You formerly heard of it probably as gypsy moth. For 51 years, we have been preventing it from establishing in Washington state. Their caterpillars you see here are ferocious eaters. Right now, springtime, the same time our leaves are coming out, the caterpillars will hatch. They will do some damage eating all of the leaves. So we're actually working to protect our forests in the terms of, timber, agricultural industry, as well as a lot of the times we'll be preventing things in your backyard. So we keep this from happening in Washington. We set 20 to 30,000 traps each year across the state, employ seasonal workers, but we're able to prevent this from happening, performing an eradication or treatment if needed. One that you're more familiar with lately in the news was the northern giant hornet or Asian giant hornet or murder hornet. Same thing. These are successfully eradicated. We declared it in December, but great to always be on the lookout as things and invasive species are constantly moving around. This was introduced in December 2018 by a resident of Blaine, Washington, got turned over to us, and we went to work. From the beginning, we knew that your input, community input, would be super important. This is something that people can detect, and by working really closely together with communities and teaching people how to report, that's what made us successful, removing 4 nests from Whatcom County. Okay. The one that I'm really going to talk to you about today, though, is that Japanese beetle. This is one of the current eradication programs that we're working on, and this might be something closer to your backyard. And this is something that we actively work with Yakama Nation or Indigenous Sovereign Nation on. So throughout different times of the year, it comes in different shapes and size, or not different shapes, different life stages. And understanding what the beetle's doing when lets you know how you can help and understand what WSDA does. So right now, that beetle is actually living as a grub or a larva below the soil, beneath our feet. It's a white C-shaped grub. It does have a brown tan head and visible legs on the smaller side, an eighth to an inch long. A lot of grubs look the same, so I have to have it and look at it underneath a microscope. But what it eats is grass roots. So we have giant buffets in our front lawn, back lawn, our parks, our schools, golf courses, churches, you name it. They get in there, eat the roots. We have brown patches. And then we invite a bunch of critters to come in and eat those yummy grubs up. There is one other pest, European chafer, that is found throughout Washington that does cause the same type of damage. So again, just grab the grub if you see it. When they hatch out, we'll be looking for the adults above the surface. This could be mid-May to mid-October, but a lot of the times you'll start to see them in June. People tell me it looks like a ladybug, but definitely different colors, same shape, about the same size, size of your pinky nail, but look for green metallic head and then copper wing covers. If you see it really close, it's got tufts of hair on the side and the tip of its abdomen, but you'll see the destruction it causes. They love roses, they love flowers, they love buds. But they mainly skeletonize green leafy vegetation. So you see the holes in the leaf there. Doesn't really discriminate. It's invasive, so it loves ornamental things, pretty much things we grow and cultivate. It feeds on over 300 different types of plants. I like to say if it's green and leafy, you could find beetles on it. For those of you who like to read and really like to know some stats, here's some common host plants that we have out here that we grow in the Pacific Northwest, agriculture, your backyard garden, yard related. So right now, those grubs are going to be in the soil. They're waking up, moving around, eating. As we get closer, they will pupate and hatch out into those adults that we will see above the surface. They will be eating, mating, dropping some eggs, eating, mating, dropping some eggs. Those eggs will hatch into the grubs or the larvae again that will be moving around and eating the roots. And then in the winter, they dig themselves down and the cycle repeats itself. So here's just another way to look at that life cycle. It's helpful to understand where they are when, to not only help you understand what we do, but how you can help and how we can spread the beetle. So if I have soil that has eggs or larvae in it, or I'm in an area with Japanese beetle and I pick that soil up and I move it, I could be spreading Japanese beetle. The same thing if I have a plant on my porch in the summer, the beetles are eating it, they've dropped some eggs, and then I move that potted plant, I'm gonna spread beetle. Then contrary in the summer months when those adults are out, if I am cutting some flowers, taking them to market, I am trimming trees, basically just doing my yard work and I move that, I could spread Japanese beetle. So we assist its movement a lot. Historically in the past, here's the map of the United States. It first popped up in Riverton, New Jersey in the East Coast. So I've highlighted this area as purple, the East Coast. They will consider Japanese beetle established. It is there to stay. Those states won't get rid of it. But over time, other states have started looking for, surveying, and some have found, some have not found it. So it's spread across, and if those states do find it, they're outside of that eastern area, they work to eradicate it. Historically in Washington, Japanese beetle has been intercepted at airports through air cargo coming from an infested area. You see they have a tarp over it here, or a netting over it so that adults can't fly out. So in 2019, we caught a beetle at SeaTac. This has happened before. It's typically been one beetle that's been caught. The airport's treated. We've never historically had a problem. But moving forward in 2020, oops, sorry, my picture needs to go away here. In 2020, we were catching beetles down there in Yakima County in the town of Sunnyside and then Grandview. And we said, that is super unusual. Let's figure out if there's a problem there or what's going on. So we met in November of 2020, decided to start formulating a massive trapping plan, and also did some outreach during Invasive Species Week, had some social media posts, and residents responded and said, you know what, I was picking these off of my roses last year. So we quickly went to work educating residents. We still do tons of outreach today to try to reach people and really teach them about the eradication program and how they can help. Across the states, it's kind of the same thing. Everyone works to trap, treat, and quarantine. This is going to be how Oregon's done it the past 10 years. Idaho's successfully had 2 different eradications, an ongoing one currently. You'll even find this happening in California, Colorado, and states alike. But trapping for the beetle, traps come in different shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're reusable, sometimes it's one and done. They have a pheromone lure at the top that attracts the beetle, then they fall in the bag and die. Smells like the beetles or smells like roses. This helps catch them so they can't lay as many eggs, but will also be a first detector to tell you if you have them. We place them across the state. Here's a map of last year. We will start placing traps here next month, but this is last year's data. Black dots are where we placed traps. Beetles are where traps were caught. So we caught some over there up in that SeaTac area, and then those initial detections in that lower Yakima Valley have now spread. I'll show you some deeper maps. Here's the traps that we placed around SeaTac, which is ironically also the Seattle-Tacoma International Airport. Here's where we caught them. Now I'm going to flip over to Eastern Washington. This is Yakima and Benton counties. Yakima would be the north west corner of the map there. So here's where we place traps. This is going to be around the town of Wapato, and then as you continue to drive, you'll get into Sunnyside, Grandview, Mabton, and eventually off the map would be the Tri-Cities. Here is where we caught Japanese beetle. Right, so a large infestation here. And this next map is of the Tri-Cities area. This is Benton and Franklin County. And here's where we've captured beetles. So that plethora of them is actually in Pasco. The one beetle far off to the west was a year's prior catch. No beetles resulted after that. So in addition to trapping for the beetles, we actually treat, and this is a free cost to landowners. We will come in and we will treat their lawns for those grubs. If you're in the area where we've caught beetles, you might need to go online and sign up. The reason that we hire a licensed contractor to come in and provide the treatment is we're using a selective, safer pesticide versus everyone just going and grabbing whatever they can find off the shelves, right? It's really important that everybody in the area, residents, communities work together because you can treat for the beetle, your neighbor can treat for the beetle, but down the road they don't. That house will grow beetles, and unfortunately, the beetles don't discriminate. They will be back. So it's really kind of an all hands on effort. Super simple. We send mailers out to residents. We have paper consent forms. We send business reply envelopes. They can just pop it in, it comes back to us. You can actually access this from any mobile device. You go online to our website and click the sign up now button. You can sign up online. Now, caveat to signing up online is you do need a PIN. That way we make sure everybody is signing up for their own properties, but we can get that to you super easy if you give us a phone call or send us an email. Treatments are happening right now. They started last week. It is important that we get in and treat as many properties as we can. The treatment happens in the spring. It works to target those young grubs so that hopefully they don't persist on into future years. With this being said, people will see beetles in the summer, but if we were not trapping and treating for these beetles, the destructions that we would be seeing would be much larger out. They would be leaving those population areas of the town, and we would be feeling much greater effects. So trapping, treating, the last thing is quarantine. Now, this is a map, and I have an orange boundary. Inside of the orange boundary are where I caught Japanese beetles. So anything in there could have Japanese beetle, and if I move that stuff that we talked about earlier, soil or yard waste, I could spread Japanese beetle. Now, we work behind the scenes with farmers to help them mitigate those risks and yet still operate. We also created 2 yard waste drop-offs for residents, but the idea of a quarantine is to basically kind of regulate the movement of goods to keep those beetles in that area and prevent them from spreading. The idea of a quarantine can be on a larger level because there's actually a federal quarantine for Japanese beetle. It's this 43-page document here that tells the states what to do if they have or if they don't have Japanese beetle. So this is a guidebook that we got to play by. And essentially what it does is it says, I know I have Japanese beetle over here in the East Coast. Those states have certain rules and regulations, things that they have to do before they can move their goods to other places. Over here in Washington, we have not established Japanese beetle, but we do have some population. So if we are unsuccessful to eradicate them, we're going to be a state that pops up like the East Coast. And then that will tell other states that we have Japanese beetle, and it will cost us X, Y, and Z to do A, B, and C before we can move our goods. So on a statewide level, that's going to cost people more money, and it's going to make our goods less desired. If you want to know more about the program, everything is online. I'm also a great resource. For those of you in the audience, we do have an interactive map. So if you go to the website, you can type in an address, see if it's in a quarantine area, see if it's in a treatment area, and you can also see this summer where beetles are caught in real time. The last thing you can do is sign up for updates. I publish a stakeholder update or a beetle blast, basically a newsletter about once a month that comes to your email, updating you on things going on with the program. We also run and manage an active Facebook group, great way to catch updates there. If you happen to see Japanese beetle, take a picture, and then you can go ahead and report that picture online, or you can send it in an email. Okay, especially if you are outside of those areas where we haven't yet found or discovered Japanese beetle. Okay, so that time's coming soon. About June is when you might keep your eyes peeled for Japanese beetle. We do have some lookalikes. Those are on the webpage, or you can reach out to me. We can learn sooner. Yolanda touched on this pest. I'm not going to speak a whole lot about it. This is spotted lanternfly. It is not here yet in Washington, but it's one that we are definitely on the lookout for. What this pest does is if it is leaves its host plant to swarm things like you see in this video here. You see it swarming this apple tree, so it loves trees. It loves vines like hop vines and grapevines. And it basically uses a mouthpiece, sticks it inside of there, and sucks everything out. So that's harmful, but it secretes a lot of honeydew. So it's this sugary wet substance that will get onto whatever it's touching and essentially turn it into black sooty mold. So then our goods become undesirable, as well as you walk in your backyard and now everything surrounding your tree is covered in mold, right? We don't want that. So I encourage you to go online and learn more about spotted lanternfly. A new video will be out on it. There's actually some great resources on it. But before we see its destruction in trees and vines and things that we really like, it's actually going to be found living on its preferred host, this plant here, Tree of Heaven. I encourage you to learn more about Tree of Heaven, and if you find it, to report it. There's an app you can put on your phone that's been mentioned before. It's the WA Invasives. It's like a pocketbook field guide, which has a bunch of priority plants, animals you can also report, but it has a good amount of information on Tree of Heaven for you, how to ID it. And sending those reports in will help us prepare and know where to look for spotted lanternfly. If you think you see it, take a picture and you can report it online, you can send it to us, you can use that, but we need to know right away so we have a better chance at eradicating it when it arrives. The last thing I'm going to mention is if you want to connect with me on spotted lanternfly, I would love for you to become a stakeholder. This year, what I'm really going to be doing is focusing on connecting and building up a list of people and groups and organizations who want to be a better first detector, want maybe some more specific training, better connections, more meetings and stuff, or maybe just getting resources out to your community that is more personalized to you so that we have a better chance of preparing for and eradicating spotted lanternfly when it comes. So please, please send me an email, send me a text, give me a phone call, and let's see what ways we want to work together to help you be better prepared. So that's it for me. My main focus here was Japanese beetle because it is ongoing, it is right now, it is spreading, and we want to really work together. I can know things, but the knowledge is really in your hands. If you have feedback or questions or comments, you can scan the QR code, just really 3 quick inputs, a great way for me to reach back out to you. But that is kind of all that I have that I want to share. I think we might have a couple minutes left for questions. I'll get them in the chat box if not, but I will turn it back to Joey now.